Today I'm going to be reading out of Proverbs chapter 24, verses 30. Wait a minute. Yeah, Proverbs chapter 24, verses 30 through 34. It would help if I was in the right book. Alright. It says, I passed by the field of a sluggard, by the vineyard of a man lacking sense, and behold, it was all overgrown with thorns. The ground was covered with nettles, and its stone wall was broken down. Then I saw and considered it. I looked and received instruction. A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. So this is, of course, King Solomon. Another story to use to gain wisdom from. And so the first part, it says he's walking by. And so in this parable, he says he's walking by this field, by a vineyard that this man owns. It says this man is a sluggard. And according to the English dictionary, a sluggard is someone who is habitually lazy. Like, that's who they are. They're not just resting, they're every day, all day, lazy. So he's walking by this man that owns this vineyard in this field, but he describes this man as being a sluggard, as being lazy. And Solomon's looking around this man's property and sees it's overgrown with thorns. So not only is it overgrown, but it's overgrown with thorns, and so it's hard to walk through without getting poked and jabbed. And it says also there's this stone wall that was around this man's property, and it says it's been broken down, it's fallen apart, it's in need of a lot of repair. So Solomon says here in verse 32, says, I saw and considered it, and I looked and received instruction. So he's looking at what's happened to this man and his property, and thinking how what's the lesson from this. And of course, as he says, a little sleep and slumber, and rest, folding of the hands to rest. He said, poverty will come upon you like a robber. And so Solomon is instructing what he's gained, his knowledge he's gained from what he's seen. He's saying, do not, if you rest all the time, poverty will come upon you. And not only poverty as financially, but just as your person yourself, your surroundings of what Solomon observed, and the family, your friends, everything. If you have to constantly maintain everything, including yourself, if you want to even just be okay. Of course, God, one of his commandments is to maintain a day of rest, but Solomon is not talking about a day of rest or relaxing a couple hours in the evening. Talking about the lifestyle. This man's lifestyle was lazy. And so do not be, like Solomon is also instructing, of course, in the literal sense, do not become lazy and complicit with just being satisfied where you are and not maintaining yourself, of course, physically, and then mentally and spiritually, and then maintaining your family, whoever that is, and then the people around you, your friends, co-workers, people you interact with, and then also maintaining your house, your property, your belongings. And I think as a man, at least, you look at different things, and women will look differently at maintaining different things. But, and of course, that is your role as different man and woman, to have different roles. So God created to fulfill because one can't maintain it all. It's difficult. But you also need to do not become lazy. And I thought to myself, I can apply this because, of course, everything else I said, don't be lazy with that. But don't be lazy with spreading the gospel either and living the gospel, which I think I personally have fallen a little behind on and gotten lazy. Definitely gotten lazy. So, and my father is a good example of keeping things maintained, keeping his equipment maintained, his vehicles maintained, the house, the property. He's a good example of, and then you see other people and they don't quite do that, and of course things start falling apart. You know, your vehicles start falling apart because you don't quite properly keep it maintained, either yourself or you take it somewhere to get it properly maintained. And because you may get a little, you get those, your vehicles start making a little weird noise. You kind of ignore it. It kind of feels a little different when you're steering. So you ignore it and you go get it checked out and keep it maintained, and then eventually, just sooner than you think, it will get to the point where it's almost not worth it to fix up. No, don't allow yourself, your life, and then your family, people around you to. It's difficult every day to do that. Every day, keep yourself maintained. But if you don't, things will become overgrown with thorns and things that bug you, but you don't get to a point maybe it doesn't bother you, and then your barrier, your protection will be broken down. So Solomon also has another good parable, which is in Proverbs chapter 6, starting in verse 6. 6 through 11 says, Go to the ant, O sluggard, consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. How long will you lie there, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of hands, and poverty will come upon you like a robber. So, of course, the latter part of that part, it sounds the same as it was in chapter 24, but he's giving an example of an ant. That ant will stay busy, without anybody telling them what to do. They go and maintain and build and prepare because they know that's their job. And, so if an ant, a little tiny insect, can do that without anybody telling them what to do, I think we should. Of course, humans, we're different. We don't go just by instinct. We think, and we're spiritual. We have a spirit, and if it was easy just to, like the ant, to go by instinct, we wouldn't need God's guidance and laws and Jesus' forgiveness and the Holy Ghost guidance. We need all that, and to study it and to maintain our soul and our mind and then our body also, of course, and to prepare and then also gather during the harvest, as Jesus says about gathering for the harvest. The harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. And to, as Christians, to not get lazy, which is easy. It's easy to have excuses. And it's easy to read and talk to other fellow Christians, but it's difficult to go talk to other people. Maybe people are a little challenging, people that you're a little intimidated by. And then it's easy to just go to church and think that's good enough. Your checkup, I guess you would say, your doctor's checkup or whatnot. Kind of like going to church. once a week, but not, maintaining yourself on your own time. And times you don't really feel like it, but you still do it. And I think also as Christians, we try to learn to maintain our body, because maintaining our body requires discipline also. And to watch what, not only say watch what we say, watch what we think, but, watch what we eat and drink, and to become, because I think when you discipline your body, your mind follows. And then discipline your mind, your body follows. It's one that goes back and forth, they battle. But when you can, I know at least for me, for running, I'm never going to be a good runner, I'm never going to be a fast runner. But I go out and do it because I don't like doing it. But I feel better after I do it, and I know I get better, and I just feel better overall, and that can allow me to be a better husband and friend and co-worker and Christian. You're not dragged down, and believe it or not, it gives you, when you exercise regularly, you actually get more energy, and you think more clearly. At least that's my experience. But anyway, let's try not to get lazy as Christians and as believers, and everything we do, and not only try to talk about building, but also just maintain and go from there. Because if we don't maintain ourselves and our family and our fellow Christians around us, and then our homes and whatnot, it's going to be hard to go on the offensive.